exciting interview with one of the WNBA and NCAA women's legends, Rebecca Lobo. It's a pleasure for you to be here with us. We really enjoyed your time today. Coach Willard and I will be conducting the interview, and happy you graced us with your presence.
No, thrilled to do it. Thank you.
All right. Let's give the viewers a little bit of, if they don't know, which hard to understand, about your past. You were on UConn's first national championship team, undefeated that season as well, in 1994-95 season. You came away with a lot of awards that way. I'm only going to read a few of them. Named the Final Four Most Outstanding Player, AP Female Athlete of the Year, the Wade Trophy and Naismith Award winner. Just to name a few. Played in WNBA for several years. 6 of those were spent with the New York Liberty. Also, Olympic gold medalist in 1996. In 2017, we're named to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. Great accomplishment, Rebecca. Can you tell us, out of all those awards that I just mentioned, and some that I missed, which one is the most dearest to your heart?
I think probably the national championship in 1995 with the UConn team. I had a chance to play with the Olympic team the following year, but that team, you're only together for a year. Whenever you do something in college or even high school, you've been with a lot of those teammates for 4 years. And especially at that time, UConn, when I signed to play there when I was a senior in high school, they hadn't been to a Final Four before. And when I was there, they had never won a national championship. So that was a really special thing for our team. And now that it's been 22 years since I graduated, I can't believe it's been that long. But to see what they've built there. Now they've won 10 since I was there. And all of the players that have come through, the All-Americans, the Olympians, what Coach Oriamba has done with the win streaks that they've had. Now, it wasn't just like a great championship for us. It was, what we didn't know at the time was the beginning of what was going to become what it is now. So that is the one that is kind of most special to me.
Wow. And that was leading me to my next question, which you kind of divulged into a little bit, was the culture of it now. I mean, you being a pioneer of it, being one of the first, like the door opener, and always credited with having an undefeated season, a national championship, and now looking at the culture of UConn now, how does that make you feel looking back and seeing that now?
It really is remarkable, and it's all because of Coach Oriamba and his staff and what he was able to build there. With my work now with ESPN, I still get back a few times a year to call their games or to watch their practices. And what's remarkable to me is how he hasn't changed. When he was building it with our team and our group, he treated us a certain way and he demanded certain things. And now, even with all this success and the best players in the country that he has coming there, he still demands the same things. And it has turned into a winning culture. Right. And it's not just because of what they're able to do during games and on the court, but it's what they do every single day in practice. He doesn't let you get away with anything. He did it then, he does it now, and he's as hard as, or if not more, he's harder on his best players, demands more of the people who can give more. So it's been cool to see how it's grown there, but also to watch him. And people always say, oh, has he changed? I really don't think he has.
He hasn't mellowed out a bit, right?
I don't think so.
Now, I got one question. You said he hasn't changed. That's remarkable. But, having some of the best players in the country come to this program, and then, some people have egos when they come, and then, how does he get those particular players to put those egos to a side and really get them to get on one accord and really focus on that one thing that's important to everyone?
Well, I think the biggest thing is if your ego is this big, he's not even recruiting you. Okay. And he finds players, and of course, everybody who goes there, you have to feel and believe that you can be a star to be able to go there, to be able to succeed there. But I think he recruits a certain type of player. His players are all really unselfish. They can all pass the basketball. They all have, a lot of mental toughness. But he also recruits a certain kind of person. Somebody who will put the team ahead of themselves, who, while they want to be great individually, they understand it's more important to be great collectively. So you know, and through the recruiting process, when they start talking to kids sophomore year in high school or whatever it is, they get to learn about them, they get to know them, and I think by the time they're juniors, they have a feel of whether or not that player is going to be right for them.
And that brings to the next point. We have a young lady here locally. She's about 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", and she's a very good player in the area. She goes to this high school. Her name is Olivia Owens. Gino actually came and watched her play here. What you just said was very important. But I also know other girls, too, from this area who went on to play college basketball at Division I level. They only spent maybe half a semester there, and they came back home. So what can you tell a person like, what advice can you give a person like Olivia, who's looking, is a junior year now, going to her senior year, looking for a college to go play at, and had Gino here actually looking at her? I mean, that had to be astonishing to her, I believe. But what advice could you give a person like her and others, how to be successful and how to, prepare yourself? I know you probably got 6 o'clock practices, something she doesn't do now. You know what I mean?
like making that transition.
That
transition. What it's like coming from high school to a program at Division I, you know.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to find the right place. You know, you see a lot right now in women's college basketball players transferring. It's happening a lot more than it ever has. And high-level players, Destiny Slocum, a kid who went to Maryland, had a great freshman year, and then decided to transfer. She wanted to get back closer to home. She's a kid who's from out in the West Coast. So I think the biggest thing is, during recruiting, you really get a chance to know coaches. When you go on your visit, you get a chance to meet the team and hang out with them. You really have to find the place that's right for you. So even if, say, UConn's recruiting you, and who wouldn't want to go to UConn? But for some reason, it's not the right fit. Maybe you do need to be closer to home, or maybe you're a kid in New York who needs to get away, whatever. You have to, it's such a big decision. You have, because it's a 4-year commitment. It should be.
Right.
But I think the other thing is, it's going to be hard. It's so much harder than high school. You've got your classes. You have to be held responsible and accountable to yourself, because you don't have mom and dad over your shoulder anymore, making sure you're where you need to be. Basketball is so much harder than it is at the high school level. Every day in practice, you're going against better players every day in games. So just understand it's hard, and there's going to be times where you want to transfer. There's going to be times where you struggle. You have to figure out a way to kind of fight through, and it's a lot easier to do that if you've chosen the right place in the first place.
Now, did you ever have thoughts?
Yeah, my sophomore year, we struggled a little bit. Coach Oriam was really, really hard on me because I hadn't figured out how to work hard all the time. So there were times I'd call home crying to my mom, and she said to me, she's like, "You're either gonna go talk to him or you're gonna transfer. But I can't do anything sitting here, and I'm not gonna go talk to him. Like, you handle your business." So I went and I talked to him, and we were able to kind of figure things out. But yeah, there were times in this climate back then not nearly as many people transferred. Now, kids go through a rough patch. It's like, see you later. They're gone, and you have to really figure out the right place. So, because there's going to be rough patches, so you got to figure out the place that's going to help you work through those.
Okay. Getting back to your basketball acronym, being drafted #1 overall by the New York Liberty for the WNBA, how was that experience?
It was like, even when I was in college, I graduated in 1995. My senior year in college, there was no professional basketball here in the United States. My thought was, I'm going to go overseas and play. That's what players did. They went overseas and played. They made some money. They came back and did their next thing. And so the following year, 1996, play with the Olympic team, you hear, they're going to start a WNBA. So not only to be able to be a part of the beginning of that, but to play in a team that was so close to home for me. I growing up in Massachusetts, went to UConn, 2 hours away, I get to play for the Liberty. So that was, all of that was amazing. But I'm from a small town in a rural community. And then to be in Manhattan was amazing. We lived right there. I would take the subway to practice, take the subway to games, and I loved it. I was there for 5 years, and it was amazing to be there at the beginning of the league. And now it's fun for me because I get to cover it on ESPN. 20 years later, it's...
And that's what we want to talk about. I'm leading to my next question. What has it ballooned to now?
The level of play is so much better. It's so much better. Because, of course, when the WNBA first started, there were 2 pro leagues. There was the ABL that played in the wintertime, and then the WNBA. So a lot of the great players went to the ABL. Well, now, all of the best players in the country and the world play in the WNBA. There's only 12 teams. most teams carry 11 or 12 players. You can have more than that. So the 144 best basketball players in the world are fighting for these jobs.
Yeah.
So the level of play is off the charts, and you know, all the games are on TV or streamed on Twitter or whatever,
Yep.
and so it's getting bigger. I mean, NBA's still here, the W's still
Right.
here, but you know, they have a 50-year head start.
That's true.
So, but it's like
What can we
it's getting
expect?
there.
What are you looking for in the future? What can you expect? What are some of your projections that you look at down the road of visualizing where the WNBA will be later on down the line?
You see expanding to have more teams. I think the most teams that were ever in the league was 16, and right now there's enough good players, enough
Yeah.
great players to have 2 more WNBA franchises and still have it be really competitive. So I can see a couple more franchises in the next few years. I think the level of play is going to continue to get better and better. I mean, you could look on YouTube, or it's all over my Twitter feed, because I still follow women's basketball. You know, high school players, and you see a girl coming down dunking.
Right.
That wasn't even possible,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
to
right.
have that more than one player who could do that 20 years ago. So level play is getting better. The interest really is growing. I encourage people, especially around here, go to a Liberty game. If you can't get to the Garden, turn on ESPN, whatever. Just turn on MSG, watch the games. But I think it's going to continue to grow and continue to grow. And who knows if it'll ever reach the level of interest and money and everything that is
Right.
with the NBA. But it doesn't need to. Like right now,
Right.
it's kind of found its home and just needs to, little by little, continue to get better.
To build. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that question. Love that answer as well. Also, I just want to change gears one more time. I know Coach will get back to that, but you know, I didn't know this when I did the research, but you actually authored a book. Or
Yeah,
two.
with my mom.
With your mom.
Yeah, Jamal, yep.
And also, you had another book too. I think too, something on nutrition as well, back in 2012. Is that right too, or is that something I just?
Well, I've contributed to a lot of different
Okay,
things, but it was right after college. My mom and I kind of wrote a book together because my mom, she passed away 6 years ago, but she was a breast cancer survivor for a long time, and so it was when I was in college that she had her diagnosis and her treatment, and she was going through all that. So she was a lot of the book is her talking about that, talk about raising us. I'm the youngest of 3 kids. And then I kind of just talked about my experience at the time, you know,
Right.
all the craziness that was happening at UConn. So yes, and since then I've contributed to things about, you know, dads and daughters and sports, and I have a totally different perspective now because I've got 4 kids of my
Right.
own.
Right.
I had 3 of them are girls. That's why I'm here is watching an
Right.
AAU girls basketball tournament. So it's really come full circle. It's funny now because like my oldest daughter, who's 12, huge Brianna Stewart fan. So last year we would go to games, and one of her biggest thrills was Stewie was, you know, coming off after a UConn game and
Right.
gave my daughter a high five. Just like, this, you know, so
Right.
she's buying the Seattle Storm T-shirt, you know, with Stewie's number on the back and stuff. So it's neat because when I was still playing, I had
Right.
a chance to engage with kids that
Yes.
that are her age, and now it's awesome for me to see her have like those kind of eyes.
You can see
when
the
she's
effect
watching
directly
play.
that you had on other kids by seeing it through your daughter now and how she
Yeah,
responds
yeah,
to her,
yeah.
which is funny because when I was getting ready to officiate your game, and when this tall young lady comes out to jump center, and I go, "Is that your mom over there?" And in a sheepishly and Jabo way, she goes, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And my point being is that she seemed Jabo. How do you manage as mother, coach, daughter, and then your shadow as well being over? How do you manage all that to keep her everything in perspective?
And your media career.
You know,
Right.
you know what's funny is like parenting trumps everything. So she doesn't listen to a thing I say in terms of her
Right.
coach.
Right.
Like if I tell her to do something, she rolls her eyes just like any other kid
Yes,
would
it's
do
true.
with their parents.
Right.
And literally, I coach her in the wintertime, and I know if I need her to do something, I have to look over at my assistant and say, "Can you tell her?" Because she won't listen to me.
Right.
But she like they're funny. They keep it in perspective, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's gonna take us a little bit of time to get out of here. Like we're at a basketball thing because other kids are gonna want to come over and say hello." But she's found basketball along with everything else kind of on her own. Like she plays softball too. My kids play a sport every season.
Okay, yeah.
Basketball is just one of the things they do, and I love watching them. I enjoy coaching them, but they're gonna find their own path. And whatever it is, I'm going to encourage all the positive things that they're doing in their life and try to correct the things that that are negative. But I do enjoy watching them play.
Well,
Are you a
it's
person
fun.
that believes that playing multiple sports will help you in your main sport?
Yes. I mean, and like a lot of professional athletes played multiple sports all the way through high school. And I think it's tremendously beneficial, you know, not only to get the other skills that you need, you know. Sometimes I'm watching kids play basketball or coaching them for the first time, and they run a beautiful give and go.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't taught them that. I'm
Right,
like,
right.
you guys play soccer, don't you? Yeah, because you do the same thing in soccer. You do give and go. It's just with your feet instead of your hands.
Right.
A lot of that translates. And you don't have the overuse injuries and all those things. So and it's fun.
Right.
You know, your sports career for most people ends when they leave high school, right? It ends when they're 18. Most of your life is after you're 18. So
Right.
enjoy that. So I want my kids to enjoy the heck out of whatever sports they're playing. And you know, if they're great at basketball, awesome. If they do it just because they love it and they're okay.
Fine with that.
Yes.
It's funny because one of your quotes you say is that there is little in life itself I enjoy more than coaching kids.
Yeah, it's true. I absolutely love it. And it doesn't even have to be my kid. Like, I love it. Like we had a game this year. My second daughter's in 5th grade. She's been playing since 2nd grade, but she had 2 girls join her team. It's just our little school team. I coach them. First day of practice, these 2 girls had never played basketball before. They got out there. Everything was a double dribble. They couldn't reach the 10-foot hoop on their shots. Fast forward a couple months, we're in a season, in a game, and they're twins, Chloe and Olivia. I don't remember which one. I think it was Chloe. Made a shot. First time in her life. In a game that she made a shot. She turned and jumped on one of her teammates, jumped in her arms, who was jumping down. Like, that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. That's
It's
what
like,
it's all about.
she just had this experience that
Yes.
she will never forget. Her parents are in the stands going nuts. They're never going to forget it.
Right.
I'm never going to
Right.
forget it. Like, there's just so much, if you don't get lost in winning and losing, but there is some importance to that,
Yeah,
too.
right.
It's like, there's so much joy.
Yeah, you had a lot of
coaching youth
perspective to
sports.
that. That story lends a lot of perspective to sports and what it lends to life itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
And like these kids too, like I do think winning and losing is important. Like when we're out there, we're going to try our
Right.
best to win. And if we win, we're going to be good losers, good winners. If we lose, we're going to be good losers. We're going to try to do everything we can the right way. There's so many life lessons in, you know,
It
you
is.
fail, you can't give up, you know,
Right.
or it's not worth winning at the expense of whatever this
Yeah.
is. You know, there's just so much that's bigger than it that I love about sports.
what I like to say is that when the clock hits 0, somebody has to be on one end, somebody has to be on the other, but that's not the defining moment of it all.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's
it's
what I
the
like to look at
journey
it,
to
yes.
get, you know, from whatever these games are, these 16-minute halves, so
Right.
32 minutes, the journey from beginning to end. What did you learn?
Right.
You know, what is better about your life because of those last 32 minutes? And, you know, it's up to you to determine what that's going to be.
Well, let's get into the family aspect a little bit. We looked up and saw that I read somewhere where actually your husband was a writer
Yeah.
for Sports Illustrated
Yep.
and made some comment, but
Yep.
come to find out I had never even watched the basketball game.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So my husband, he still is a writer for Sports Illustrated. So people ask, like, did you guys meet? Was he covering you? No. I was living in New York City, and I went out, and a guy who I knew was kind of showing me the neighborhood, and so showing me the places to eat, places to hang out. So I was out at a bar, just, you know, having a beer. This dive Irish bar on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And so the guy I was with, he had a couple of buddies come and meet him, and one of them is Steve, who's my now husband. Well, I read Sports Illustrated like crazy. So I said to him, I'm like, you know, we were introduced, and I said, hold up, are you the guy who made fun of the WNBA a couple weeks ago in your column? And he
Wow.
said, yeah, that was me. And I said, how many games you been to? He said, none. I said, all right.
Wow.
Well, you're going to come to some. And the beauty is, like, at the time, I never, like, had any vision in my brain that he was going to be the guy I was going to marry or anything. But think about it. So he made fun of the WNBA, had never been to a game. You know how many girls and women's basketball games that man has been to since then? To watch me play,
Right.
to watch when I'm covering stuff down, like in gyms all over, watching his daughters play.
Daughters, yeah.
So you better, guys out there, you better never say something
Like
bad
that.
about
Look
girls
at that.
athletes, female athletes, for sure.
And Now, would you ever suspect that you would, I mean, me and my colleague was having a dispute over, you had to clarify it for us, whether you got married at the Hall of Fame
Right,
or near the
right.
Hall of Fame, but did you know, you got married Hall of Fame, was that a telltale sign that years later you would be getting inducted into the place you had your ceremony
No,
at?
that's crazy.
Well, your reception
Yeah,
at.
so we got married, and then we were looking for a place to, before we got married, we were looking for a place to have a reception. And not too far from where I grew up, 15 miles, the Hall of Fame. It was brand new, it had just been built. And somebody said, we could do your wedding reception here. We've never done one before.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, that sounds amazing.
Right.
So we had our wedding reception there, and yeah, I grew up 15 miles from the Hall of Fame, so I was a kid. A big treat for me would it be if I could go to the museum. And it's
Right.
since now a new building. The one I went to when I was a kid is no longer there. So I never had my wildest dreams thought that maybe someday I'd be inducted. Like that was too big for me to even comprehend. So I found out this February,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess this March, that I was going to be inducted.
Oh, take us to the phone call.
Oh, yeah. So they told us, like, I guess in February I found out I was a finalist.
Okay.
So they said, all the people that are finalists, you're going to get a call on the Tuesday from between 12 and 3. And no matter what, you're going to get a call. They'll tell you you're in or you're not in.
Now, before you go on, how many, you got a finalist, but how many people are
How many are the finalists? I don't know how many were in the finalist pool, and it's not a set number every year.
Okay.
Although generally, only two people associated, 2 women get it a year. Two like former players, coaches get it a year. So I'm like, okay, so this is the middle of March Madness. So I worked really late the night before. I was at ESPN. It was done during the regional finals, and so the next day, my kids are at school. My husband's off getting a sandwich, and my phone rings, and I get on, and it's like, Rebecca, this is John from the Hall of Fame. Did you ever think growing up in Western Massachusetts that one day you'd be a Hall of Famer? And I was just like,
Wow.
so I get out the phone.
Hometown girl.
The first thing I did was call my dad, because he was like, and he you just hear it, his voice. His first thing he said, he's like, your mom would have loved this, and she would have. Like, you don't get any more joy than you get out of watching your kids do something.
That's true.
And then so I texted my husband, I called Coach Oriema, so when I let my husband know, called my dad, got in touch with Coach Oriema, because they've been, such big pieces of my life. But yeah, I can't wait. It's in September. It's going to be amazing. Great. And, a lot of stuff has happened in my life. I'm really, really excited about
Now
it.
tell us, but you didn't finish the story. Tell us the story when you told.
Oh, when I told my husband. Okay. So I texted my husband, right?
Okay.
So I texted my husband and I said, tonight you get to sleep next to a Naismith Hall of Famer. And his response was, great, exclamation mark. Larry Bird? Question mark. So, that's how it is in our house.
Shots fired, right? Which brings us to our closing segment, which I didn't really want to wrap up, but we have something called Umoja Shots, speaking of shots fired. So we're going to ask you some tough questions.
All right, bring them on.
Before you do that,
Go
I
right
want to
ahead.
ask about one more player in the WNBA. He's a local kid. Not really local, it's like 45 minutes away. But she played for my brother's AU team, the Lady City Rocks. And her name was Brianna Kiesel. She plays for the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah, she went to Pittsburgh,
Went to
right?
Pittsburgh, yes.
Yeah.
When she played in she played my brother for several years, but she came up here to play in a tournament at Albany High School, and her pull-up game was the best I've ever seen by any person. Better than the guys I've seen. And to see her make it to the WNBA was like real special for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what do you think about it? I know she's only getting like 10 minutes a game, after 2 points, 2 assists, something like that. But have you seen any of her play?
Well, first of all, it's impressive to be on a WNBA roster. We talked about that before, how hard it is to make. I watched her quite a bit. I haven't seen her much in the WNBA because this is her first year really kind of sticking. But I saw her quite a bit when she was at Pittsburgh, and because they made it into the tournament that year, and they had a nice little run. But yeah, she's got a nice game. She's got a nice game. And not only is it hard to make a W roster, it's hard to make a W roster as a guard. There's a lot of really good female guards. But yeah, her ability to come down, push pace, make good decisions. I didn't realize she was a local kid from this area. So that's the thing, if you could find, there's a first-round pick this year that was cut. The number 9 pick for Chicago was cut. That's how hard it is to make a roster. So for her to not stick last year and then to get a chance this year, testament to her. Especially these players go overseas, they get better, and you know their game has a chance to mature.
All right, ready?
All right, I'm ready. What do you got for
Umoja
me?
shot. Toughest team you faced in college?
Tennessee.
As we can see.
Tennessee. We beat them both times, but
It's tough. Two toughest players you ever competed against?
one is Tina Thompson. She played for Houston when they won their 4 championships. Just big, physical, strong, tough player. And then the other one is a player whose name you probably won't recognize. She was on the Olympic team in '96, Katrina McLean. She was a great player at Georgia. Probably one of just a physical specimen. She was a post player, unreal, but she didn't play the WNBA, so a lot of people don't know about her. But if you look up Katrina McLean and what she did overseas while she was at Georgia, she was a beast.
Why did she play?
She played a couple years in the ABL while it existed, and then when that folded, I think she was just ready to get married, have kids. But she could have played, and she would have been an all-star. She was amazing.
Describe Gino in your own words.
You know, I owe so much to him. He's the best coach in the history of the women's game. I mean, that you can't argue that fact. He has a huge impact. Had a huge impact on my life, but also on everybody who's plays for him. He's demanding, but fair. He's honest. He tells you how it is, whether you like it, whether you don't, whether it's politically correct or it's not. He is honest. He is brutally honest, but fair, and he's a good man. He's a good man. For people who you just kind of see his persona on the sideline, he is a good man.
I see. It seems like it's rubbed off on you. I mean, it was the first time meeting you, but you just seem like a real person.
Oh,
You seem real, you know.
Well, he is as real as they come, and that's the only way to be, right?
That's right.
That's true. It was kind of leads into my next one, but you kind of answered it. But it's a two-part to it. Most influential person in your personal and professional career.
My personal life, the most influential person without a doubt was my mom. She was a no-nonsense woman, and you know, the type of person who just taught me, you fight, when there's a battle to be fought, you fight it, and you go to bat for yourself, you go to bat for those that you care about. You know, you always try to do what's right in life, and she was no-nonsense. So she had the biggest influence on, you know, me in my personal life and, you know, how I try to raise my kids and all that. Professionally, it's Coach
Hands
Orlando.
down, Gino. Now, what was it like? What was the parallels between Mom and Gino?
I think both of them very strong people. Both of them very honest. Both of them had a level of expectation and a standard of behavior that you didn't cross. You know, there's not only a way to do things successfully, there's a right way. And it's not just about getting to the end. You do it the right way. And Coach was very much like that, is very much like that when it comes to basketball. My mom was very much like that when it just comes to whatever you do in life.
So it appears to be detail-oriented.
Oh, but yeah, and being held accountable every time. Like, it's not okay to do it right 99 times out of 100. What happened that 100th time? Like, that's not okay to not do it right that 100th time. And that's the way he is. And it's the reason his teams are so successful.
Okay, this might be a tough one for you.
All right.
Favorite UConn player besides yourself from any era?
I can't just give you one. I can't. So from my era, Jennifer Rosati, who was my point guard, was one of my best friends of all time. So she is one of my favorite guards who ever played at UConn.
And she's a coach at.
She was at Hartford. Now she's at GW. So she's the head coach at George Washington. Diana Taurasi is probably one of the best winners that's ever been there. Sue Bird is a good friend of mine. And then, I know I'm saying a lot of players.
No, go right ahead.
I mean, Maya Moore is ridiculous. Like, in terms of ability to win, put everything on her shoulders. She's a fierce competitor, love her. And then I'll throw in my daughter's favorite, because it's Brianna Stewart. But yeah, I mean, there's been so many. There's been so many players every year. And now Gabby Williams, I mean.
Yeah.
I love the way she plays. And there's the best athlete in the game. So there's been a lot.
Yeah, it has.
There's been a lot.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yes.
Ice cream. I love ice cream. So yeah, I mean,
Any flavor?
It's not most flavors, but I like if there's some Oreo in there or some cookie dough. I need some candies or something in there. I'm a big ice cream person. Yeah.
and favorite pastime.
My favorite pastime, coaching. I love it. I love it. Like if I had more time, I'd maybe golf or something.
Yeah.
But right now, my youngest is 6, so we're still knee deep in parenting every day. But no, I love coaching. I absolutely love it.
I got one. The toughest part of your media job.
Oh, what the hardest part of doing what I do now is when I first started and I had to cover people that I played with or against, and like you have to be able to be honest and critical at times. And like a couple of years ago, she and I were having dinner in the cafeteria together. Now I'm supposed to say how bad that decision was that she just made. I guess now the hardest part is being away from my family. Like I travel a lot during WNBA playoffs, and like last year, you might be gone for a week at a time, and my kids are home, and maybe I'm missing a soccer game, or I've missed a couple birthdays because I've been on the road. Like that part of it's hard.
Finally, how does the eras after you respond to you being a pioneer and different things of that nature? How do they respond to you?
Current players are really good with me. I think because they still are aware of me because I'm in the business I'm in. I still get to see players a lot. What's funny for me now is, like a parent will come over to me and like their kid wasn't born, even close to being born when I was still playing. And the parent will say, oh, I was a big fan when I was a kid. And I'm like, oh, what? Am I really that old?
Right.
But it's like women's basketball, it's a really good community. And I've never had a bad experience with somebody coming up and saying anything to me in a negative way, So I think that's just kind of what women's basketball is all
like the
about.
culture.
Yeah.
I got one tough question.
Uh-oh.
I mean, it's been, I gotta get one in anyway. It's the last question, right?
Last question.
Okay. With so many issues going on with WNBA lately, with people feeling bullied in the NBA, certain players. There was a story not too long ago.
One player.
Yeah, not too long ago. So you said one player, so I'm assuming it's not a big issue.
No, what happened was a former player came out and said she felt like she was, I guess, bullied because she's heterosexual, and there are a lot of gay women in the WNBA. That is the only time I've ever heard anyone say anything like that. When I was a player, I never saw it. I never heard anyone talk about it. Covering this sport for the last 13 years, I've never heard anyone talk about that. The story, of course, because it's different and interesting, got a lot of pub. I'm sorry that she saw that as her experience, but I've not heard a single other person come forward in any way to say that they had a similar experience. And my daughters are playing basketball. I encourage them to play basketball. I think there's a great culture in girls basketball, women's basketball. So I hope that incident is as isolated as I think it was, and I hope no parents would ever shy away from having their kid play because, like I said, I've never seen anything like that.
Well, we appreciate your time. I think your daughter and everything and play, and you're coaching at the same time and all those different
Today I
things
get to
going
rest.
on.
I don't get to coach today.
So
But
we appreciate your
nice
time.
job officiating, by the way.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good job,
Tell the real, we don't
You're a hater. No, but we really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right? Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. That was
Thank
look at
you.
two.